see, most probably finished up to 13 slides. Today we will be starting from 14 slides. Okay, so (13) is, can you see? যাদের কাছে বই আছে তারা বই দেখতে পারেন। ওকে, যাদের কাছে দেখা যাচ্ছে আর যাদের কাছে টেক্সট আছে তারা টেক্সট দেখতে পারেন। ওকে 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 so here you see that Women and Fiction, that's written by Virginia Woolf, and that's written about feminism. Feminism, that means about women, especially the novels written by women writers. And at the very initial stage of this essay, Virginia Woolf posed some questions. What are the questions? That means why there were no novel written by the women writers before 18th century, and after 18th century the women started writing, and why they started only writing the novels. These are the questions, and she, our writer, Virginia Woolf, asked and answered that questions in this essay. So we are in the last portion of this novel, of this essay. There she said that, but it is still true that before a woman can write exactly as she wishes to write, she has many difficulties to face. What are the difficulties? One thing, to begin with, there is the technical difficulty, so simple, apparently in reality so baffling, that the very form of the sentence doesn't fit here. So the problems women face that cannot be explained in lines. Several problems are there. One thing is that we have discussed earlier, that means that society was male dominated. Male were the employers, male were the director of the companies. They had economic solvency, but in contrary, women didn't have job, they didn't have education. Only responsibility they had that they will be bearing children. And for this reason, he said, yet in a novel which covers so wide a stretch of ground, an ordinary and usual type of sentence has to be found to carry the reader on easily and naturally from one end to the book to the other, and this a woman must make for herself, altering, adapting the current sentence until she writes one that takes the natural shape of her thought without crushing or distorting it. I have said that whenever male writer will be writing about women, they can understand the true feeling of the women. And whenever women started writing, they started writing about their own self. So the women writer didn't distort the incident. That means they have written exactly what they have felt in their life. So they didn't distort it. So distorted thing is not true. Whenever women will be writing, their writing will be not distorted, so their writing will be the true one. So that is also one of the motive or theme of this essay. But that, after all, is only a means to an end, and the end is still to be reached only when a woman has the courage to surmount opposition. Surmount, that means to fight against opposition. What are the opposite forces? Opposite forces, that means in the society, male dominated society. And whenever they will be writing, there are several criticism will come before them. So they have to face all kinds of challenge. Challenge starts from their family. In the family, man will be dominated everything. Okay, so they have to face the challenges that will come before the women writer. And the determination to be true to herself. Okay, exactly. Everybody, in case whenever you will be writing something, if you write a novel, that novel is based on imaginary incidents, isn't it? So when a male writer will be writing about female, they can imagine many things. That means they will make the things in the man's perspectives. But whenever women will be writing, they will be writing based on their own true feelings. That means true to herself. What she will be writing, that she knows better than the male writers. That means true to herself. Everyone has conscience. Conscience means conscience, what is true and what is false, what should be written and what shouldn't be written. So the first challenge for the women, that means they have to be true to their self, that means their conscience. And for a novel, after all, is a statement about 1,000 different objects. So you can write a novel basically on your interest. You can simply write for the explanation of the human beings, for the explanation of the human psychology. You can write about the natural phenomena that will be happening. That means tsunami. Many things can be written. Even many science fiction have been written based on tsunami. Okay, the movie you may watch, that is the disaster movie. That means the natural scenery that has been captured with the help of imagination. So in case of a novel, you have to very liberal. That means you can write about human beings, you can write about nature, you can write about divine things, you can write about philosophy, you can write about religion, everything will be there. And for this reason, women started writing novel after 18th century. It is an attempt to relate them to each other. Just you can relate human beings to nature, you can relate human beings to religion, you can relate human beings to society. So that is the activity of the women writer, that they will be collecting, they would be linking towards the society and towards the man, or towards the human being, towards the religion. So that is quite easy for the women writer, and for this reason they started writing novels. And first thing, what did the writer say? That means they have to be true to their own self. In every novel, the merit of these different elements, that means what are the different elements? Human beings, society, nature, divine things like that. Okay, so these different elements are held in place by the force of the writer's vision. Vision, that means imagination. Imagination means conjecture. Conjecture means with the help of your creative faculty. So you have to connect everything. But they have another order also. They have, that means the women writer have another order. What is that? Which is the order imposed upon them by convention. Another challenge. That means women shouldn't work for a company. Women shouldn't go out for education. Women only be doing the activities, household activities. These are the convention. Convention, that means the rules and regulation created by the society. That are also the challenge for the woman writer. And as men are the arbiters. Arbiters means judge. Judge means vicharok. Because men are the arbiters are everywhere of that convention. Man has created. Who has created that women shouldn't go for higher education? Who made this? Men. Women shouldn't go out for taking the challenge to fight in the battlefield. Who made this convention? Men. So these are the conventions set from the immemorial time of the civilization. That means these are the status of the women. Virginia Woolf's contribution to the women writing is that before Virginia Woolf, anybody didn't say such kind of true things about women, isn't it? That is his contribution. And for this reason, Virginia Woolf has become a famous modern prose writer, or the writer of 20th century. And the values established an order of life. So too, since fiction is largely based on life, these values prevail there also to a very great extent. So in novel, what you will see, if we visit a showroom, a Sony showroom, then you will see that every product made in Sony, is it? In the same way, in the society, you will see all kinds of experience. In a novel, you will see the experience of every human being, experience of a potter, and the experience of the kings and queens, and the experience of the daily man like you and me. Everything you can see in novel. So novel is the reflection, or you can see the showroom of human life. So if you study the novel of the 20th century, you will have many things related to the First World War and the Second World War. If you study the novel of the 18th century, you will see the Victorian age, what happened in that time, what happened to the female upbringing. So by studying the novel of a specific time, you can understand the position of women in the society at that time. Because novel speaks for the life of human being in society. It is probable, however, that both in life and in art, the values of a woman are not the values of a man. That is the important thing. Virginia Woolf said. Before Virginia Woolf, they didn't say. That means for men there is a different role, for women there is a different role. So that such kind of class division is called apartheid. Apartheid means the Srini Vibhajan. So in the society there is a division based on the men and women. Based on this division, that is also called apartheid. So that is also an issue of this essay written by Virginia Woolf. So in the society many things will not be done by the women. Who has created this law? Society has created this law. Okay, because men are the arbiters, men are the judge of the society. So the values for a man are not quite similar to the values for a woman. What is the problem? Who is responsible for that? Women are responsible for that? No. Though they are not responsible for that, so why they will be suffering for that? Virginia Woolf asked that question to the society, and he started writing, and she wrote everything in this essay, especially a room of one's own. And that is also here. This essay will be ending with that same motive. That means women will have a room of her own. What does the room mean? Room means the economic solvency. The room means the education. Room means the power to judge the thing in their own way. So everything that she has discussed. Thus, when a woman comes to write a novel, she will find that she is perpetually wishing to alter the established values. I have said that some opposition, some negative feelings are there. What are the negative feelings? Whenever they thought that they will be writing novels, that means they have to write the true thing, and they will go against the society. So the established values they have to fight to make serious what appears significant to a man and trivial what is to him important. And for that, of course, she will be criticized, and for the critic of the opposite sex will be genuinely puzzled and surprised by an attempt to alter the current scale of values, and will see in it not merely a difference of view, but a view that is weak, nor or trivial or sentimental, because it differs from his own. Okay, so whenever women will be writing this values sub-novel, that will opposite to their own values, and that values were created by the men. So they have to fight this against these challenges. But here, two women are coming to be more independent of opinion. Okay, so women are men. There is no difference between the human beings. Okay, all are the human beings. The skull, the hands, eyes, all are similar. Okay, and the brain, the same capacity of the brain a man has, and the same capacity of the brain will a female will have. Okay, so only Albert Einstein had a different brain, is it? Okay, so some says that Albert Einstein has a different shape of brain. Okay, because when Albert Einstein was born, he had a larger head, and for this reason there was a tension for Albert Einstein's father and mother, and they thought that their child will be abnormal, but excessively it is proved that he has got. But that is the different thing about the scientists. But apparently every human being will have the same faculty of creative and faculty of everything, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. Okay, left hemisphere will be controlling the right part, and right hemisphere will be controlling the left part. So why such kind of division between men and women? If a man can fight in the army, why a woman cannot? So that are the questions comes, and that is the opinion were coming from the women counterpart of the society. So the women, they had their own opinion, independent opinion, and they are beginning to respect their own sense of values. And for this reason, the subject matter of their novels began to show certain changes. They are less interested, it would seem, in themselves. On the other hand, they are more interested in other women. So women, they started writing about other women, not about other men. And in the early 19th century, women's novels were largely autobiographical. So after 18th century, when women writers started writing, they started writing about their own life in the family. So for this reason, best novels in 19th century written by the women writer that are autobiographical. And how it is important that one of the motives that led them to write was the desire to expose their own suffering. So they write the novels, and they write about their own self, and they become the representative of all women of the world. Whenever the history of a woman in a novel, that story will be quite similar to the all women of the world, because this women writer became the representative of all females of the world. And for this reason, they started writing autobiographical novel at the early 19th century, and to plead their own cause. Now that this desire is no longer so urgent, women are beginning to explore their own sex or right of women, as women have never been written of before. Of course, until they very lately, women in literature were the creation of men. Okay, so in the 19th century, women started writing about their own life. And if anybody writes about their own self, that is called autobiographical writing. And by this autobiographical writing, the women started to expose their own suffering. Whenever a woman will be writing about their own suffering, that woman will be the representative of all women of this world. Here, again, there are some difficulties to overcome. What are the difficulties? For if one may generalize, not only do women submit less readily to observation than men, but their lives are far less tested and examined by the ordinary process of life. Often nothing tangible remains of the women's day. The food that has been cooked is eaten. The children that have been nursed have gone out into the world. Often it is difficult to say. Where does the accent fall? What is the salient point of the novelist to siege upon? It is difficult to say. Her life has no an anonymous character. Anonymous means যে সন্তানগুলোকে তারা মানুষ করেছিল তারা বড় হয়ে গিয়েছে, বড় হয়ে তারা নিজের কাজে চলে গিয়েছে। ওকে, এখন তাদের একটা সময় এসেছে, দে হ্যাভ গট সাম লিজার টাইম, হোয়াট দে আর সাপোজ টু ডু নাও। ওকে, সো দ্যাট ইজ অ্যানাদার পয়েন্ট। Her life has an anonymous character which is baffling and puzzling in the extreme. For the first time, the dark country, that means the country of the women, is beginning to be explored in fiction. So before 19th century, the world of women was unexplored, and whenever a world will be unexplored, that can be compared with a darkened country. So the issue about the women were not explored before 19th century, and for this reason she said that it is a dark country. And at the same moment, a woman has also to record the changes in women's mind. Many. Begum Rokeya Sakwat, she said that who is responsible? Previously, a little bit ago, I asked the question. That means who is responsible? That means women will not go for education. Main society. But some critics said that women are also responsible. In which way? Many women, they think that, oh, okay, I am a woman, so I will accept everything. I will not go for education. I will not go for army. I will not go for be a pilot. I will not be an aeronautics engineer. Okay, I will be a doctor. Okay, like that. Okay, many women admit this. So another challenge, that means the women writer in the 19th century, they have to change that women view. The women who had been thinking that I am a woman and I will not work for army. So that view was also coming from the women counterpart. So in one way, they are supposed to have the opinion that yes, I can. If that spirit comes from the women, that means yes, I can. So that was also the responsibility for the women writer. That means the women writer in the 19th century, they had to change the mentality of the other women. That means women will start thinking that yes, I can. If a man can, I can also. So women record the changes of women minds and habit which the opening of the professions has introduced. She has to observe how their lives are ceasing to run underground, and she has to discover what new colors and shadows are showing in them. Now they are exposed to the outer world. Okay, so after getting the changed mentality, women has gone out to face the challenge. Okay, nowadays only the female cricket team or football team, they got the victory in the Asian Championship. Okay, but the men's football team, they can't do well up to like that. Okay, still they have got a trophy, isn't it? So that means after the 19th century, the women all they go out to face the challenge of the world. Okay, and that was created for such kind of writing. Who writing? That means Virginia Woolf writing or other female critics. Okay, and they are now out of their family. They are now out of their home. They are ready to take the challenge of doing everything. Okay. If then one should try to sum up the characters of the women fiction at the present moment, one would say that it is courageous, it is sincere, it keeps closely to what women feel, it is not bitter, it doesn't insist upon its femininity, but at the same time, a women's book is not written as a man would write it. So if you evaluate the novel written by the female writer, then we can say that yes, the female writer, they haven't distorted it. They have written exactly the true feelings they felt in their own life. And apparently, in which way it will be proved? It is proved in such a way, that means they have written, that means women writers have written their own feelings in their own hand. হাত দিয়ে লেখা নেই, কলম দিয়ে লিখেছে, on their pen. Oh no, by in their computers. Okay. But it is not written by men, it is written by women. But at the same time, a women book is not written as a man would write it. And these qualities are much commoner than they were, and they give even to second or third rate work of the value of truth and the interest of sincerity. So, man's writing will be distorted. Man's writing about women will be distorted. That would be the second grade or the third grade sincerity. But whenever it will be writing, that will be the first-hand experience of the women. But in addition to these qualities, there are two that call for a what? More of discussion. The change that has turned the English women from a nondescript influence, fluctuating and vogue, to a voter, a wage earner. Wage earner, you know? Wage মানে হচ্ছে মজুরি. Wage earner. Before 18th century, women were not voters. মেয়েরা ভোট দিতে পারত না. ইংলিশ নোবেলিস্টদের কথা বলছে. এবং দে উডন্ট ওয়ার্ক. যেহেতু তারা কাজ করতো না, তারা স্যালারিও পেত না. ওয়েজ আর্নারও ছিল না. A wage earner, a responsible citizen, has given her both in her life and in her and a turn towards the impersonal. Her relations are now not only emotional. Naturally, we see that women will start crying for everything. Because what is the thing? Because they are very much emotional. Okay. But at that time, after getting such kind of responsibility, they become responsible citizen, and they will not start crying on a simple issue. They will say, no, I will not cry. I will face the challenge of the 21st century. So they are not emotional. They are intellectual. Okay? They are political. If you search 100 powerful leaders of the world, at present you will see how many women are there. Okay. So, after the 18th century, women has been political leader, women has been scientist, women has been the intellectual leader, they has been the voter, and they have been the intellectual citizen of a country. The old system, which condemned her to squint askance at things through the eyes or through the interest of husbands or brother, has given place to the direct and practical interest of one who must act for herself. Okay. At many election time, what our mother would do, what our sister would do, the brother will say, oh, vote for this. Husband will say, okay, vote for this. That means women will not have no. But now they are not in a position. That means they have to think. They will judge who is the right person to vote. So they have got their own opinion. They will not be guided by their brothers or guided by their husband or guided by their parents. They will be guided by their own self. That means their own conscience. And that position of women had been created by Virginia Woolf in his essay. Not merely influence of the acts of others. Hence, her attention is being directed away from the personal center, which engaged it exclusively in the past, to the impersonal, and her novels naturally become more critical of society and less analytical of individual life. So, next time we see that novels, that means the novels written by the female writer, this novel become a criticism of the society. Society, which society? That society women are living, and that society is male-dominated society. That society was criticized by the women novelists in 19th century. We may expect that the office of godfly, what's the meaning of godfly? One kind of bigger size fly, যেটাকে বলে dash, massive, to the state, which has been so far male prerogative, will now be discharged by women also. So they will not be subservient. Subservient means dashatva sulabh. Okay. When a nation will be serving for some others purpose. যখন একটা দীর্ঘ সময় ধরে কেউ যদি কারোর সেবা শুশ্রূষা করে যায়, তখন তাদের মাথার মধ্যে, মস্তিষ্কের মধ্যে একটা দাস সুলভ মেন্টালিটি তৈরি হয়ে যায়। সেই মেন্টালিটিকে বলা হয় সাবসার্ভিয়েন্ট মেন্টালিটি। উইমেন হ্যাড দ্যাট মেন্টালিটি, অ্যান্ড অ্যাট দিস স্টেজ দে হ্যাভ কাম আপ at that mentality and they become independent. Their novels will deal with the social values and remedies. Their men and women will not be observed wholly in relation to each other emotionally, but as they cohere and clash in groups and classes and races. And this is one chance of some importance, but there are another more interesting to those who prefer the butterfly to the god or gadfly. Gadfly, yeah? That is to say, the artist or to the reformer. There is a difference between butterfly ke shobai bhalobashe, okay, আর gadfly ডাঁশ এটাকে কেউ সেরকম ভালোবাসে না, মাছি, বড় আকারের মাছি, সেটাকে পছন্দ করে। So women at this stage they became the butterfly. They have become the intellectual property of the society, intellectual mind of the society. The greater impersonality of the women's life will encourage the poetic spirit, and it is in poetry that women's fiction is still weakest. It will lead them to be less absorbed in facts and no longer content to record with astonishing acuteness the minute details which fall under their own observation. And they will look beyond the personal and the political relationship to the wider questions which the poet tries to solve of our destiny and the remaining of life. Okay, so these are about the women, and the basis of the poetic attitude is of course largely founded upon the material things. It depends upon leisure. Okay, so the poetic attitude, the poetic mentality, why every woman? তাহলে তো যদি আমরা ধরেই নেই যে after in 19th century and even in the 20th century women have got freedom, they have got many things, so why we are not getting so many women writers according to Virginia Woolf? They have got every consciousness, everything, so why we are not getting so many women writers? Here Virginia Woolf said it depends upon leisure. মেয়েরা কাজ করতে করতে, সমাজের কাজ করতে করতে তাদের কোনো সময় ছিল না। এটার উত্তর হলো কি, যে কেন সব মেয়েরা হলো রাইটার হয় নাই, এটা প্রধান কারণ হলো দে ডোন্ট হ্যাভ লেজার। ঠিক আছে, শৈশবে বাবার কৈশোরে কি জানো, আর কি একটা গান আছে, ওকে, সো উইমেন উইল নট বি দ্য ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট, ওকে, অ্যান্ড দে হ্যাভ মেনি ইনভলভমেন্ট টু বি ডান, তাদের অনেক সমাজে, সোসাইটিতে, ওকে। Day before yesterday I went somewhere else, okay, some teacher said that yeah, you are the eldest sister, so why didn't dress your younger sister so well? তুমি তোমার ছোট বোনের ড্রেস আপটা দেখোনি কেন? বড় বোনকে বলতেছে, তার মানে বড় বোনের বয়স 14 বছর বা 12 বছর, এখনই তাকে রেসপন্সিবিলিটি নিতে হচ্ছে কার? তার ছোট বোনের, ওকে। সো দ্যাট ইজ দ্য থিং। যদি সে মেয়ে ছেলে হতো তাহলে কিন্তু ওই কথা টিচার বলতো না। সো ইট ডিপেন্ডস আপন দ্য লেজার, দ্য উইমেন উইল নট হ্যাভ দ্য লেজার, আর লিটল মানি, লেজার থাকতে হবে, তারপরে কি থাকতে হবে? অবশ্যই কিছু টাকা থাকতে হবে। দ্য চান্স হুইচ মানি অ্যান্ড লেজার উইল গিভ টু অবজার্ভ impersonally and dispassionately. So whenever you will have some money, then you can think in your own way. So money can guide your mentality, yeah. যখন টাকা থাকে না তখন দেখা যায় যে oh how I can do. So if you have money, that you can take your decision. So money can do. Money is the roots of all evil. But little money is necessary. আপনাকে আজকে যদি দেওয়া হয় যে কাল থেকে আপনাকে প্রতি মাসে 1 লাখ করে টাকা দেওয়া হবে, তখন আপনি কি করবেন? না, লেখাপড়া করে কি লাভ, আমি তো এমনি টাকা পাচ্ছি, ওকে। দ্যাট মিনস ইট ইজ সেড দ্যাট মানি ইজ দ্য রুট অফ অল এভিল। বাট যদি বলা হয় যে কাল মাস থেকে আপনি 1 টাকাও পাবেন না, তখন আপনার কি সমস্ত ক্রিয়েটিভ ফ্যাকাল্টিটা কি হয়ে যাবে? বন্ধ হয়ে যাবে। সো আ লিটল মানি ইজ নেসেসারি, okay. Excessive money is not necessary, but a little money. So before 19th century, but after 19th century, women didn't have a small money, they didn't have, and for this reason they couldn't write novel. Women will naturally occupy themselves more than that's here to be responsible with the craft of letters, and they will make a fuller and a more subtle use of the instrument of writing. So whenever women will have a little bit leisure, they will have a little bit time, they can write, they can think in their own way, and they can write something. Either it may be poem, either it may be novel, or either it may be a drama. So these are the important things. What are the important things? A little bit leisure and also a money, a little money. এবং এটা ছিল না বলেই অনেকে পারে নাই. Their techniques will become bolder and richer. Previously we have said জেন অস্টেন, ভার্জিনিয়া উলফ এবং অনেকেই আমরা ফিমেল রাইটারের কথা নাম শুনেছি, ওকে, এমিলি ব্রন্টি, উইদারিং হাইটস রাইটার, এই সমস্ত নোবেলিস্ট অনেকের মধ্যে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে 2 of them were unmarried. Okay, because if they were unmarried, they have less responsibility. Okay, so that is the reason. Yeah, and 2 married writers, they didn't have any children. So that is the 4 famous women writers of the 20th century. In the past, the value of the women's writing often lay in its divine spontaneity, like that of the blackbird song of the thrush, and it is untaught. It is from the heart, but it was stuck spoiled over paper and left to dry in pools and blots. In future, granted times and books and little space in the house for herself. বলছে yes, for the women from the next time, allow the women, আপনার বোনদের একটু কিছু সময় দাও, আলাদা সময় দাও. Granted time and also books and a little space in the house for herself. Okay. Literature will become for women as for men. If you provide a little space for the women, if you space a little time for the women, then of course literature will also be the property of women as for the man. The novel will cease to be the dumping ground for the personal emotion. It will become more than a present, a work of art like any other, and its resources and its limitation will be explored. Okay, so whenever women will be allowed some space, some money and these facilities, their novel will not be criticized. Their novel will also be famous. From this, it is short step to the practice of the sophisticated arts, hitherto so little practiced by women, and to the writings of the essays and the criticism of the history and the biography, and that too, if we are considering the novel will be of advantage. For besides improving the quality of the novel itself, it will throw off the aliens who have been attracted to fiction by its accessibility, while their hearts lay elsewhere. Okay, thus will the novel be rid of those exercise accessories or exercises of history and fact which in our time have made it so shapeless. So we may prophesy at the end, the writer said, that is, we may prophesy, that means we may think. Women in time to come will write fewer novels but better novels. কেন? যদি তাদেরকে সময় দেওয়া হয়, তাদেরকে যদি কিছু লেখাপড়া করার সুযোগ দেওয়া হয়, তাদেরকে যদি কিছু বই পড়ার সুযোগ দেওয়া হয়, তাহলে তারা কম লিখবে, কিন্তু সেটা কি হবে? Better novels. And not novels only, but poetry and criticism as well. Not only they will be writing. We started the essay that why women have written only novel. তাদেরকে যদি সময় দেওয়া হয়, তাদেরকে যদি পড়ার সুযোগ দেওয়া হয়, they will be writing novels, but they're better novels. And also they will be writing poetry, they will be writing criticism, they will also be writing history. But in this, to be sure, one is looking ahead to that golden and that perhaps fabulous age when women will have that has so long been denied them. Leisure, underline this line, leisure, money, and room to themselves. Okay, so if women are allowed to have some leisure, allowed to have some money, allowed to some personal room or some space to express their own opinion, then they can be novelist, the better novelist, they can be the poet, and they can be the historian, and many more. So the essay started with why the novel was written by women and why women started writing only novels. Virginia Woolf answered the question very methodically, that there are several rules and regulations in the society. The rules and regulations were created by the men, and there was another thing, that women started doing the familial job. They started to bearing the children, so they didn't have leisure, they didn't have education. If women have education, if women have leisure, if women have a little bit money, they can be the best writer, they can be the best poet, and they can be the best critic. And that is the end of this essay. Okay. So thank you very much.